Hi, I'm Rebecca and welcome to the Creabea Knitting podcast. Hello and welcome, my name is Rebecca, I'm a knitter and a knitwear designer based in Edinburgh, and this is a podcast or a vlog all about knitting, what I'm currently knitting on, what I've been knitting on and what I would like to cast on in the not too distant future. It has not been long since I filmed, but I have been, I'm a little bit manic at the moment. There's some real obsessive knitting happening, so I have a lot to show. I'm not wearing any knitting today because Scotland seems to have remembered that it's summertime and we have some really nice weather. And I could have shoved on a knitted t-shirt, but I ironed this morning and I don't iron anything ever. So the fact that I ironed it means it's getting worn all day. I've got to really get the maximum potential out of the ironing. I also have my windows open and we have some birds that I don't know where, I think they have a nest on the roof. So it's pretty loud, but yeah, you'll get some nature sounds in the background. So what do I have today? I have 4 finished objects. 2 I finished, 1 is a sample knit and 1 is like a half finished object, but like it's finished, but I only really did half the work. I will get into that. I have a lot of works in progress, which will become as no surprise to anyone. I've got 4 works in progress, I think. And then I've got 2 things that came into my life this week. I bought yarn. I've got 2 sets of yarn to talk about. So plenty to get through. I also technically have another finished object, and that is for a publication, which is coming out in March 2024. And the test call will be going live super soon. I had hoped to have it done for today, but I only just sent the pattern to my tech editor, so it's not ready for today, but it is a all over colour work fluffy pattern. And if you've been watching, I did a sneak peek of it last time. But yeah, the test call's coming this week, so if you're interested in a secret test knit, I'll pop a message on YouTube, like the community thing, like a post, when I'm looking for testers. Okay, I think that's all the admin-y stuff. I don't know. I feel a bit out of it this morning. I went to a cafe to get the pattern finished and now I'm just feeling a bit dazed. I'm so surprised by the sunshine. That's what it is. There's sunshine in Edinburgh. It is so shocking that I don't know how to act. Okay, let's start with my first finished object, which is by far the most exciting. And I will say I've been wearing it pretty much non-stop, but the weather is now going to preclude me from that. It's my Alder sweater. I'm pretty sure this wasn't finished last time, or maybe it was finished and not blocked. I can't remember, honestly. I think I hadn't quite finished the second sleeve. I'll put it on quickly. I'm wearing a really high collar, so it's peeking up, but with a t-shirt, I can't see anything underneath it. So yeah, this is an all over texture pattern. It is again a raglan. It's got a nice chunky collar and chunky ribbing. It's got these gentle decreases on the sleeves, which I think give it kind of a boxy, an 80s ski jumper vibe. And let's just fold it a little bit. And this is the stitch pattern. And I'm just wearing it with jeans. This is what I've been wearing it with all week. And I'm obsessed. I adore this sweater. Yeah, I really, really like it. The yarn is Sonder yarn Sunday Morning DK, and it's beautiful. It's so, so lovely. It is a BFL Masham mix, which I think you can get in quite a lot of dye. I'm seeing it a lot now actually, I think because I realised that this is a base more widely available. I'm now seeing it everywhere, so quite a few hand dyers use this base. It's beautiful. It's a DK weight. It's got this lovely, it's sheepy, but it's next to skin soft. I just could wear a tank top underneath this and I'd be fine. I know it's going to soften. I can feel the fact that it's going to soften, and it's just fill the space really nicely, and it's got a really nice drape to it. I did order the yarn for a second one. Well, I dropped them an email, and they don't normally ship to the UK. They ship in the US and Canada, but I ordered via email, so I just emailed them back and tried to order some more. And this is the raglan, which is one of my favourite details. It's kind of subtle. up here, but I really like it. So the test is underway. It's not like a super straightforward pattern, and I've done a construction like this before with the Cargill sweater and the Dorney, and both of those, like, getting started was a bit chaotic. Just getting all, like, with the testers, I just knew that the first like 2 weeks would be the hardest. Once everyone clicked, it would be fine. That's not happened. Like, there's not really been any early stage chaos. So I don't know if it's just that no one's gotten there yet, or if it's just that the instructions are clearer. I guess I'll find out over the next week. But so far it's going really well, which is lovely. My plan is to film a little bit of tutorials. Oh, I pulled out one of my woven in ends under the arm by accident. My plan is to use the second sample to do some video tutorials, just so that I just feel like increasing in pattern can be tricky, and some people, like, if you need to see how it looks, and so hopefully there'll be some videos to go with it. And I'm super excited just to get this, like, get it back on my needles, because I love the stitch pattern so much. And what I really like is the yarn I've ordered. I've ordered their Wildwood colour, which is kind of like a grey green, and they have their Sunday morning DK in two bases, like the regular and the ecru, and the regular is like a grey base and the ecru is a white base. And so this way my first sample is in their regular base and my second sample will all be in their ecru base, and weirdly I quite like that. I don't know why I like that so much, but I find it very satisfying. Okay, that is my first finished object. That is my Alder sweater. It is due for release early October, and honestly I'm really glad that there's sun again, but I'm kind of gutted because I've been wearing this all week and I want to wear it again and I can. But hey, it's Scotland, we will undoubtedly get some cold weather in the not too distant future. Okay, my second finished object is not one of my own patterns. I feel like all I do now is talk about my own patterns, and I guess that makes sense because I design knitwear patterns, but I do feel bad for the OGs who came and I gave like really honest open reviews about other patterns I'd knit, and it's definitely different, so I'm sorry if you missed that. But here is one pattern which is not mine. I actually have another one which is not mine coming, so there is a bit of respite. This is the salt wrinkle. This is the Cosy Classic Light by Jessie Made, and it is a really simple fingering weight top down raglan. Again, like, I picked the worst thing to wear underneath this, but no one's going to judge me for it, I'm sure. So it is a top down raglan. It's kind of bunching up funny because of my sleeves, I'm sorry. It feels like a school jumper. If anyone went to school where you have a school uniform, this is basically school uniform, but I'm not mad about that. I really like the sleeve length. It's like bang on where I wanted to be. I had to lengthen the sleeves, the same with my Alder. I finished the sleeve and realised it was too short, so for both of them I had to go back, or I knit the second sleeve longer and then back and ripped out the first one. And it's way too warm. This is fingering weight, which means this is only the second fingering weight sweater I've made. The first one was a daily pullover by Paula Pereira for Pearl Soho, and it was a v-neck, and I didn't like the V on me. I say that, I'm wearing a v-neck today, but this is quite a deep V, and I found that one was it's hit me like here, and I just didn't like it. I think I probably could have ripped out the bind off, did a really loose bind off and like blocked it out, but instead I gave it to my mum. I use the same yarn though, so this is Kinross 4-ply. I ranted and raved about this because I love it, and I'm really pleased because I now finally have like proof of why I love it so much. It is 100% lamb's wool and it is so soft, and it was quite soft before I knitted with it. It is incredibly soft now. It is 1000% next to skin. Like, I think I'll just probably wear this with like a bra underneath, and I could always layer it up if it was cold. And it is just blocked out like so lovely, and I don't know if you'll see, there's quite a halo to it. Maybe you can see it on the edge there. Like, it's gone almost fluffy, and it is just, it's so soft. So yeah, I love it. I got a tip with it. So the first one I made, I just blocked it with regular wool wash, and it didn't come up as soft. Like, I just felt a sample of this, yeah, like a swatch, and that's why I bought it the first time, because I thought, oh my goodness, that is so soft. And the one that I did, the beige one, or sort of like a beige off-white, was my first sweater in this, and it didn't soften up that much. And then I got a message from someone saying use dish soap, and I think this is a general tip for anywhere that uses like quite oily yarn, so like Holst, Woolly Knit, JC Rennie, this, like anything that's got like a wool that's got quite an oily spin. The dish soap like breaks down the oil because it's designed for that, whereas wool wash is very gentle. This is a bit more aggressive, and it 1000% worked. So that is a tip I'll be taking forward with me, and I'm sharing with you now. But yeah, I just can't believe how soft it is. And again, I tried to bargain with myself that today was like, this would be the wetness sweater I'd wear for the podcast because it's thin, but I put it on for 2 minutes and I was way too warm. But I think it's gonna get so much wetter. I think I'll make this again, but I'm not rushing to it. I think it's something that I would like consider casting on maybe like a year. I have got another project in this yarn on my needles. It's a 50/50 triangles wrap, which gets very little progress. Like, it gets pulled out every once in a while. And I'm only on skein 2 of what will be 12 skeins for that pattern. Okay, my mum phoned me, so I got distracted. I think I was talking about this. I think I was talking about making a new one. I've got something on my needles in this yarn, so I don't think I'll be buying any more yarn for this for right now. But I do see myself making this in the future. They have some really great colours. There's a sort of a burgundy, reddy, maroon colour that's really nice. There's black as well, which I think would just be so wearable. That also gives me some time to wear this and see how it does. Like, does it wear well? I definitely feel like right now I want more, but you know, soft yarn doesn't mean it might pill, or felt and things, so I'll have more time. In terms of the pattern, it's super easy. It's a really, really straightforward raglan pattern. I mentioned last time when I cast on fewer stitches, so I just looked at the pattern pages and I saw that a lot of the patterns, like very many raglans, are really wide. And sometimes I don't mind that. My Toaster t-shirt pattern's got quite a wide neckline, and for some reason on a summer tee that doesn't bother me, but on a sweater that I want to maybe layer, I quite like it to be a tighter neck. So I cast on fewer stitches for the neck. I think I did a longer ribbing as well, but don't quote me on that one. And then immediately after the ribbing, I increased out evenly to get the number of stitches I needed for my size, and then I kept going. And I just tried it on as I went and stopped increasing when I think it fits, and that worked fine for me. So I wasn't like super tight to the pattern. I definitely did decreases differently. It tells you to decrease every X number of rows. I did it more frequently than the pattern told me to. And I did it all the way to the hem, like the cuff. I think in the pattern it does it quite like suddenly for a bit and then you stop decreasing. I just decreased the whole sleeve and it works fine for me. So yeah, probably will knit this again, and really excited to wear this one, and really relieved. Like, I've got a few, I think I only have one more like long-term whip that I know I want to finish. That's a stockinette sweater, like it's just a in the round sweater, and it felt good to have this one off my needles. So now there's just one more, which I'm not working on yet, but we'll get to. Okay, let's move into my other two finished objects, which are like 1.5 kind of. So the first one is a Corran cardigan. The Corran is a cardigan I published back in April. I'll put a picture of what it normally looks like. And here is my most recent one. Now you see it so obviously on here. So I knit 2 short sleeve samples. The first short sleeve sample I knit in like an off-white beige colour, and I hated how it looked on. I found that the beige was like too warm for my skin tone, and I think it washed me out. So I made a second one for the pattern pictures in a white, like a more of a true white. And the plan had been to, when it came to like autumn time, was to lengthen the sleeves and then dye this. I did that. There was absolutely no issue with I couldn't see any obvious changes to the dye lot, but you can see some skeins have taken the dye differently to others. So this one and this one have taken the dye. This middle one has not taken the dye very well. And actually, if I'm honest, I prefer this grey. These ones are like a funny kind of green grey. And even on the button bands, I've obviously halfway through the button band changed yarn, and it's not obvious before it was dyed. But it's kind of gone green grey. So I'm not sure what I'm doing here, if I'm honest. I've not really quite made a plan. I could go ahead and dye it black, but I think I'd need to strip the dye of this one first because I think otherwise it would get a bit like crispy. And also, if you've been here for any length of time, I have like a track record of dyeing things, like fully knitted garments, and then being really annoyed with myself. So I should just stop dyeing things, clearly. I think once it's on, nah, it's pretty obvious. So yeah, I'm not like delighted with it, but I also don't mind. I don't really know. So it's too warm to wear it right now anyway, so I don't really know what I'm gonna do here. I told myself if it doesn't work, I'll just dye it black, so I might just dye it black. But I do think I need to strip some of this colour off first, otherwise it's just gonna go a bit funny textured. But yeah, it's just, you can hear on the front, right, like you can see very clearly which skeins I've used where. That's just a bit annoying. So yeah, I don't know, someone's gonna tell me in the comments to stop dyeing things, and you're right, like I should. I won't, I'll keep doing it, and then I'll remember for 6 months that it's a bad idea, and then I'll forget and do it again. But that's okay. It's just my own time I'm wasting. Okay, my fourth and final finished object is really exciting. So I have a pattern. My next pattern is coming out is the Leith Cardigan. It is out in like, goodness, like 3 weeks. The first, I think it's like, it might even be September 1st. The first Friday of September, whenever that is early September. And I have made one sample, and I've got a picture, I put it in, and the test knit has been going underway, and there's some amazing versions of the test knit pool, and I knew I wanted another one, and I contacted a sample knitter about knitting up a sample, and that sample arrived back today. So I will put a picture of our inspiration. I've showed it before. I got really into like the colour trends for 2023 autumn, and there were two colours which I loved, and they are Astro Dust and Digital Lavender. I hear myself saying them and they sound pretentious, but I just fell in love with them. And this dress that was my inspiration completely struck me, and so I knew I wanted those two colours in a cardigan, and so I have them. So I'm going to hold up the back because that's where like the most dramatic thing is, and then I'll show the rest of it. It's so cool. I'm really glad I had this one sample knit because I think I would have like second guessed myself if I were knitting this myself, but I think because someone else knit it, I couldn't second guess myself. So this colour, this is Filcolana Peruvian Highland. The original sample is knit in Cascade 220, but Cascade 220 and Filcolana Peruvian Highland Wool are both, Cascade 220 is also Peruvian Highland Wool, and they've both got the same yardage, so I feel like they're pretty interchangeable. And yeah, I'm really, the gauge on this is so, she's done such an amazing job, the gauge is so even. And this looks ridiculous with this shirt underneath, but yeah, this is what it looks like. Actually, it looks kind of cool with like the white, maybe just not a shirt. So it is a drop shoulder sweater. I even just love this colour. I've not added the buttons because I didn't send her buttons, and then she's like, oh, what do you want to do about it? And I was like, I'll just send it and I'll work it out later. And then the back is the sort of detail, which is this intarsia panel. And so there's intarsia all up the back. With my first sample, the back neck here ended up being too low, so I raised it in the pattern, but obviously I hadn't knit a second sample since I made my sample, I wrote the pattern, I made the changes to the pattern based on the things I didn't like in my first sample, and then the test knit started. So I was like a little bit nervous about the fit, just a tiny bit, because I knew the back neck on my first, my sort of pastel ice cream coloured one didn't fit perfectly, so I was a bit worried. This fits so well, and it's funny because in the test knit, quite a few test knitters, there's one test knitter who's just knitting it plain with no intarsia, and quite a few testers have messaged since and said, I'm making a second one in plain, like this cardigan, this is like the best fitting cardigan I own. And I was like, are you sure? Because like my first one didn't fit perfect, like I wasn't convinced, which is ridiculous to say about myself, but I wasn't convinced. I get it now, I really get it now. I think this just fits me like the way I want a drop shoulder cardigan to fit. I'm so pleased with it. And I think it's really fun. I love the purple. I think it's so out of my comfort zone, but I think it's really cool. And yeah, I do see maybe like I feel like a real woolly wool in this would be really nice, or a mohair and fingering weight. I think I'll make one of these in the future, just plain, because I'd just love to see how that went. And it's a really easy construction and the fit is so good. So yeah, this is my Leith sample. And a huge thanks to my sample knitter who did an amazing job. And it's always nice to get samples in the post because they're yours and you own them, but you didn't have to knit them yourself. Especially it's some of my own pattern, so I still feel like ownership over it because it's like, well, it's mine. So yeah, I need to work out how to wear this. I've got blue jeans on and I think it goes well with the blue jeans. Maybe I should wear it with like a white t-shirt and my blue jeans. I don't think that would work, but I do quite like the shirt underneath it. Any fashionistas out there, how should I wear this? I have a black leather skirt, which I think this and like a black t-shirt and this over the top would be quite cool, but it is not like I need to wear that with tights and it's like an autumn thing, so I don't know how to wear it in the meantime. But yeah, that is my, it looks so cool on camera. I'm really, really pleased with this. It's really nice. And it's got this double knit button band. Yeah. So that is my second Leith sample. I have a third. So with that, let's move into my works in progress. So there is a knitter called Kelly who is cocoon wear, I want to say, and she is testing it a lot of my projects for me. I think she's been testing it 5 or 6 times and I only have 8 patterns, so she's testing it almost all of them. And every time she takes the pattern and she makes it better, which is everything a designer wants in a test knitter, and completely unexpected. Like I don't expect her to improve them all the time and somehow she still makes them like incredible. Oh, I realised that I had like yarn barf yesterday and I hate the term yarn barf, but I do understand why it fits. So she is knitting, she's already finished the Leith cardigan. She's one of the testers that said how great the fit is and how she wants to make another one because the fit's so good. And she, as per usual, did something a little bit out of the blue, and I have 1000% completely copied her. And I'm not mad about it, like I'm delighted I chose to do this. So this is the secret. This is boucle, this is alpaca, drops alpaca boucle. What I think this would be amazing in, and if I had any patience whatsoever, I would go down this route, but I don't want to wait that long, is I think there are a lot of dyers, like hand dyers, now dyeing in boucle. This pattern, like they're all doing DK boucle, this is the pattern. Like this is such a good way to do it. And honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that this is my third sample, I would consider, who am I kidding? I might even buy more yarn. I can go to some yarn festivals over the next few months. Potentially I'll be leaving. If I find a hand-dyed boucle that I really like, I may purchase some and make one of these in future. I feel like a dark green would be really nice. I know that Explorer Knits have a boucle version and that's really cool. Okay, so don't really know how to show this, but this is what I have so far. Oh, the reason I think it's nice in boucle is that it's not a full like all over boucle, which I think can look a bit like a teddy bear. It's just a notion, like a little like hint of it. So it's not super clear because I've not done very much, but like this section and this section are boucle and this one are done in pima and drops pima and mohair, and I've not knit with mohair in a while, so this is just feels like a bit of a luxury, to be honest. And I'm so excited. I think this is going to be something I'm going to wear a lot with jeans. I think it's like quite chic. There's something quite chic about it, and it's not like a bold colour choice, it's quite a neutral. I knew I wanted a neutral sample because my first sample was so wild. I never thought that sample would be boucle, but yeah. So I need to get going with this. The pattern is coming out in 3 weeks. I want to have it finished by then. But honestly, I will get into why. I've got other things I'm very excited about. And so it's not happened quite yet, but that is okay. And I need to have it finished in time for the pictures, which, God, the pictures are in like 2 weeks. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I don't need to stress about knitting. Knitting is not worth stressing about. It is an enjoyable thing I do for fun. I don't need to get overwhelmed by knitting. Okay, what next? Okay, let me show something cool. This is not my pattern. With a disclaimer that I have just made a mess, but I will explain my mess. So, if you watch other knitting podcasts, you may be aware of Amy Pelko, who is a fellow Scottish knitter. and a very prolific knitter. And Amy has designed her very first pattern, which is super exciting. Amy's a big like shawl wearer, so unsurprisingly this is a garment, well this is an accessory that you can wrap around yourself. It is called Gallus, which is like a Scottish word for like joyful or happy, and yeah. And it is a scarf, and I will say I'm completely off gauge, so take my sample with a pinch of salt. I am using 2 yarns, well the same yarn in 2 colours. This is Camarose Senfnug, and it is incredibly soft and incredibly beautiful. I've wanted to work with this for a long time. It's quite pricey, but I figured that a scarf, well firstly, if I'm going to knit a whole scarf, I want the yarn to be something I'm engaged with, like I want that to be an engaging element. And secondly, I want it to be like cozy, wrap myself up in scarf. And so this is it. So I'm going to start from the bottom and like show it all the way. Da 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 da. So that is what I have so far. So I have like the first little section and then a full second section. I realised this morning, I was just sitting having my coffee, it was early, it's like, I don't even know what it was, like 7:30, 7 AM. And I was just like waking up for the day, and I thought, oh, I'll finish off that section of the Gallus so I can show it on the podcast today. And I realised that somewhere, don't know if it's going to show up, somewhere in here, I've added an extra set of short rows. So this is all done using short rows. You can kind of tell, like this should be flat and it is not. Like it is, there's more here because there's more fabric there than there should be. And I can see where I've done it. Like I can see the little like squint, like the stitches just don't, it's garter. So that should be like a really straight line, and something here has gone funny. I don't know how I've done it. It's annoying because it's a lot of garter, and I've got a, oh that's where it is. Like you can see like here, this row, I've done a set of, that's where I've turned, and I should have turned all the way in the middle. So it's a bit frustrating, to be honest. It's also an incredibly straightforward, very easy to follow pattern, and I literally like design complex sweaters professionally, and I can't follow a garter stitch pattern. I'm embarrassed. I know, I am embarrassed. So yeah, I'm gonna rip this out, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that. This is launching the weekend of SYF, which is the Scottish Yarn Festival. I'm gonna start calling, Amy started calling it SYF, and I'm gonna start calling it SYF because I keep calling it Perth, and it is no longer called Perth, it is called the Scottish Yarn Festival. So it is launching then, which I think is the 8th of September, 8th and 9th. And it's gonna be a little Gallus party, and I need to have my Gallus ready for my Gallus party. I mean, worst case, I will go and knit on my Gallus during the Gallus party, but I'd like to have it finished. I also am a little bit over it, honestly. I'm just chaos. I'm not gonna have enough yarn. I ordered the right amount for the pattern. I didn't actually. I got my okay, step back. The pattern is written in 6 colours, and I decided to do it in 2 colours. And I like wrote out each section, but I got that wrong. So I calculated the yardage, and I think I have enough of the grey, but I'm not gonna have enough of the cream or like this off-white because mine's also off gauge. So it's about 7 centimetres wider than it should be. It's not far off lengthwise. Like lengthwise is gonna be fine, but the width is too wide, which is, it's not a big deal. It's gonna be so cozy. I have a big, my winter coat is like a big black overcoat, and just think like, it's gonna be perfect. It's gonna be, oh, it's so soft. It's gonna be amazing. I already am picturing the finished pictures, like the photos. Ideally it's gonna snow. It's not gonna snow in September. I mean, it might, global warming is real, but hopefully it won't snow in September because I like the pictures, but I don't want the climate impact of that to happen. So there we go. That's the right side. It has, like I say, it's made of short rows. If you've done things like the half and half triangles wrap, it's a pretty similar construction, like a similar way of working. But it has these like trapezoids stacked on each other. And yeah, the original sample is knit in different colours, which is a great way to use up like single skeins of like maybe a hand-dyed yarn. Almost my entire knit night is knitting one of these, which makes it so fun. Like we all show up on a Monday and we like all unpack them and we're like, look at me, look at mine. Like show and tell. And I think most people are knitting it in hand-dyed yarn, but who am I if not? I like to be different, and different in the knitting world is knitting with plain boring colours. So yeah, it's in my mood bag. Mostly I am running out of project bags. because I have so much on my needles right now that I do not have enough bags for tomorrow. But it's in my big chunky mood. And yeah, I'm gonna, once I finish recording, I'm gonna rip this out and take it back to where it was. This morning I was like, should I, shouldn't I? I told Sam, my boyfriend, and I said to him, like, look what I've done. And his theory, or his like way of rationalising was like, yeah, imagine if you set off on a flight from London just like 3 meters in the wrong direction, like by the time you arrived you'd end up miles away from where you wanted to go. And what he meant by that was like, if there's a little, like if it's just a little bend in the bottom of the scarf, the whole scarf will be twisted. But I was impressed at his concept, and it was enough to convince me I should rip it out. Okay, 2 more. We're going in like order of release actually, not on purpose at all, but it did actually work out that way. So we did start with September's, and like September, and then Amy's is the week after the Leith comes out, and now we're going to go into my October pattern. So if you watch regularly, you will have seen this. However, it is off the needles. We have just loose yarn somewhere. I just pulled the needle out willy-nilly. This is what we had. Here's it upside down. I finished the top part portion. It was done. It was like it was pretty close. I decided I didn't like it. I was walking home from knit night on Monday. I was listening. Okay, take a step back. This is the Stick Season sweater. It is a sweater which I'm designing with yarn gifted by Explorer Knits and Fibres, which is like an inspiration. The whole thing is inspired by the album by Noah Kahan, who is an singer-songwriter from Vermont, New England. That's the context. And I know what I want the ending to look like. It's inspired by a Gansey, and I wanted it to be detail heavy. And I found the bottom-up construction that I was going for was just a bit too scruffy for what I wanted, and it didn't give me, it wasn't like the right tool to use to give me the output that I wanted. And I know what the end piece is going to look like, and this wouldn't get me to the end piece. So I cast on again, and I was so organised. I even put this on scrap yarn so that I could show it off properly. Ali from Explorer Knits sent me 2 sweater quantities of yarn because she said, I know you like making 2 samples, which is correct. So I decided to like give my brain a break. I would cast on with the other colour. So this colour is called Linen. These are like her tonals. This is really beautiful, like warm stony grey. And then the colour I'm using now is called Daybreak, which is this beautiful like perfect autumn like red squirrel colour. And I have been, this is where the manic knitting has come in, to be honest. I have been obsessively knitting on this, and this is what we have now. It's not massively different, to be honest. Like in terms of if you were to describe them, it's super similar, but I'm so happy with this. And it has allowed me to play with the details I wanted, such as the shoulders. So like it comes down, there's like a ribbing detail, and the ribbing detail will come all the way down. I'll show you on this side. The ribbing detail comes all the way down, and it goes down the body, and it will continue to the ribbing. And then the same detail goes like over the sleeve. It's quite a wide neckline, so it's going to be quite a deep collar. And then you can barely see this, but only the top part there is textured. So it now goes into stockinette. So now we're on the plain stockinette in the round. Like I say, I've been frantically knitting on this just because I was desperate to see if it would work in the way I wanted it to, and if I'd be happy with it. And then as soon as I got going, I was like, ugh, I'm obsessed. And so that is where I'm at right now. I'm hoping like this is now a perfect state for TV watching and fringe show going, and we've got some friends visiting. They're arriving today, so I can like knit on this while we're chatting. I think this will be my primary weekend project, and my goal is to get through this skein of yarn and then work out what to do about the neckline. I've got a couple of options. I think ideally I would like this to flow into the neckline directly, but I'm not sure if that's going to work. So if not, I think we're going to put some welts in, which are pretty typical on Ganseys. And I'm just really excited. I love this texture. I think it's just so, It's real squishy, it's really, really lovely. This yarn has done a fantastic job of showing up the stitch pattern. And yeah, I'm real pleased. I feel like it's you know, like if you're ever thinking about frogging, like ripping out a pattern, like a project, if you're already thinking that one, then you probably should be frogging it. Like that's just a kind of recognised thing. It's kind of the same with this. Like if I'm thinking of starting over a design, that's probably I just need to do it. And yeah, I'm really pleased. So it doesn't feel like very much a show. I am obsessed with it, but I'm allowed to be obsessed with it because it's in my brain. And I had this with the Leith cardigan. Like I could see the finished thing in my head, and it took a while to come together. And it's hard to take people on the journey until it's ready. But yeah, so that is my stick season sweater. I got a message comment on the last podcast from, oh, I've completely forgotten your name, I'm really sorry. I've recommended this podcast before. I want to say it's Black Spruce Knitting podcast, but I could be making that up. He pointed out that there has been some severe flooding in Vermont about a month ago, and there's a massive amount of rebuild work going underway, and would I consider donating a portion of the profits from or a portion of sales from this sweater to the Vermont relief. And I will be doing that. There'll be more details about exactly the fund, and I'll like make sure to link all the funds that it's going to, so that's like super transparent when the pattern comes out. But yeah, I think it'll likely be 10% of the sales, so overall sales will be donated to that. I was a bit apprehensive because I'm doing a big pattern release, it's charity in December, and I was like, oh, like they're close. This is coming out in November. Did I say October? I meant November. But honestly, like that's silly, right? Like charity is charity. And that's fine. And if you want to buy the sweater, they will, and it's me choosing to donate it. I was worried that people would be overwhelmed with the charity stuff, but I decided that's a silly thing to think. So I've dismissed it from my brain. So yeah, I'll talk more about it at the time, but that's what's going to happen. And I keep getting comments from people telling me like the 12 people in Vermont will be excited by this, which coming from a small nation, I understand the feeling behind. But yeah, I also I told Sam yesterday that I want to recreate the music video for Stick Season in the Stick Season sweater, and he actually told me that was okay. He's like, are you okay? Like, sure. Cool. So okay, my last one then is for December. We are miles away, but on the one hand, the timeline for knitting patterns is early, and on the other hand, I have a not so firm grip on reality, and so I'm just choosing chaos. So this is in a giant bag, which I don't even know what this is. It came to a knit swap and nobody claimed it. If you're in my knit group and this belongs to you, you're not getting it back. I love it too much. No, I told you I'm running out of project bags, so this is a requirement. So I've not made huge progress on this since last time when I showed it, but I have made some, and the most exciting is I've now finished all of the colours. So this is one of 2 Advent patterns that I will be launching, which will be a purely charity release for the entire month, from like when it launches until like the end of December. I think it'll come out like late November, so people can get ready. And the goal is it's something you can knit with your like you can knit a bit a day, either with your own Advent or like with other. It will be able to be done without Advent yarn, but it also will work with Advent yarn. So I'm using, oh, I'm gonna sneeze. I'm using an Advent which I got last year from Charlotte, who is Nervus Fibre, and this was the SADvent, which was in the SADvent came out in January, so it was 16 days from the 1st of January to the 16th, which is like Blue Monday, which is I think debunked but still exists. I did knit something with I started another project with one of the mini skeins, and I didn't want to unravel it, so it's just not in there, so I have 15 colours in this. And I just finished, like, this panel is all 15 colours. So up to this, like, this sort of pickle green, and then I'm back to the one I started with. And in true, like, bottom-up cardigan fashion, it is a bit of a nightmare to show off, but this is what we have. And I've just, like, I split yesterday, and I've just started working this front panel. So I really love it. It's such a nice weight to it. It's like a relatively heavy cardigan. It's like an offset kind of broken rib stitch with these really cool stripes, which I like because it's stripy without being like just stripes, if that makes sense. I just keep seeing myself being able to wear this. I think this with blue jeans is going to look so cool, and I'm already excited for it. My main colour is Filcolana Peruvian Highland Wool in Marzipan. And yeah, this is kind of like when I'm sick of all my projects, this is my little like, it was on hold for a long time because I started it ages ago, and I told myself I had to slow down because December was so far away if I need to take a chill pill. But like knitting, it's just like 4 rows in the stripe, so you're getting to like pick out the mini ball and then do 4 rows and then 4 in their contrast colour. It's just like a little treat. So that's why it's been flying, and why I've got quite a lot done. I do find that with all of my bottom up cardigans, once you get past the body, the rest really flies, so I'm hoping that's the case. It's not necessary, but I would like to have this finished for SYF because Charlotte from Nervus will be there, and then I get to like show it to her and like have all of that, all the Advent colours, which would be nice. I will be making another version of this in black and white. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that's gonna look really, really cool. The one thing that's what I was gonna say, I think it's gonna be a little bit too big. We'll see. I mentioned in the last podcast I've lost quite a lot of weight, and I've probably got about 10 centimetres in my bust. And I made this before for like, this is 10 centimetres bigger on the bust than my Leith cardigan that I just tried on it, and I love the fit of that. So we'll see. It's not enough that I'm going to rip it out, and I think if anything it could be a bit oversized and boxy, like it's a fit that will work for oversized. But I am a bit worried about it, but you know what, we'll see what happens. It's not the end of the world. And I think it's still going to be really cool. And I'm not a huge, I say this having just shown a lilac and red cardigan, but I'm not like a super bright colour person, and I feel like I'm not someone who would traditionally wear a rainbow. This is a rainbow I will wear. I think it will just look really, really fun. So yeah, so that is that. Back into the bag. And then related to that is my first acquisition, which I've done a bit of swatching for. So like I say, Advent pattern, that is the mini skeins held double. So I just got a little knitter's scale. I mean, I think you can use any scale, but the good of this is it goes down to like 2 decimal points, which is helpful for knitting. It just looks like this. I think I must have just got it on Amazon, to be honest. And it is DK weight held double, so I unwind the mini skein, ball it up until it gets to 10 grams, and then ball the second half up separately. But I can understand that people maybe don't always want to do that. Like, I get that that's maybe not a popular choice. So I decided to do a shawl in fingering weight as well. I'm not a big shawl knitter, we know this, but I like the idea of challenging myself, and I thought it would be a fun project to do with. And I wanted to do a version in colours which were not Advent, mostly because I didn't want to go buy a second Advent like right now. There are some out there, like leftover from last year, and I had to talk myself out of buying one. Because that's ridiculous. Like, I do not need to buy an Advent in August to design a pattern. I can just knit it in something else. And I spent quite a long time trying to find the yarn I wanted, mostly because I didn't want to buy full skeins, and I wanted interesting colours, and it had to be fingering weight, and like I just was coming up empty. And then I was watching Marina Skewa, who is a podcast I've been watching for so long. I've been watching her long before I started filming podcasts, and I used to really like her basket. She doesn't do as many basket weaving. Maybe she does and I've not seen them, or maybe they're on her Patreon. I'm not a patron. But she dyes. Anyway, she's got a podcast if anyone's interested. She's also a designer. All very like earthy, and like a lot of them are named after like Latin names for plants and things. Herbaceous, is that a word? Herbaceous. If it's not, it sounds like it should be a word, so I'm going to call her herbaceous and hope that that's not a bad thing to call someone. Anyway, she has got some yarn called Mend It 4ply, and she dyes them, and I ordered some of her yarn. So this is the colour palette I went for, and it is beautiful. It's so lovely. I got, I think, 4 skeins of this one, maybe 3, maybe 4, and then 1 of each of the colours. And these are 50 gram cakes. They were 50 gram skeins. And honestly, I don't know why I'm not cast this on yet. I've swatched, so I'm going to show you my swatch. I just keep, every time I sit down to cast it on, I tell myself like, work on something else. I currently have, sorry I dropped my swatch. Ugh. I currently have like a list on my phone in my notes app, which has all of my whips on it, and then has what all the things I want to cast on, and then tells me like when I can cast it on. So like my Leith boucle version, I wasn't allowed to cast on until my Alder sweater was cast off, and I wasn't allowed to cast on my Gallus scarf until my Raglan Kinross Cosy Classic Light was done. So I've been trying to control. I got to a stage where I had a lot of my needles. I still do have a lot of my needles, but it is getting to like a slightly more reasonable stage, and so I think I just like told myself that so much that I told myself I couldn't cast this on yet. I can now cast it on. So this is the swatch. It's just so, it's very tiny, but it's so cute. It blocked up really nicely. I honestly have no idea how many stitches this is. I should, like the gauge, I don't know. I should check. It's not super soft, but it's not prickly. It's just like a bit rough, if that makes sense. But you know the trick, like you put it in your bra strap and you wear it around all day if you want to see if it's next to skin soft. I think it's gonna be fine. I posted the pictures of the skeins on my Instagram, and my mum immediately replied and said, that looks like one for me. My mum is also called Marina, so I wondered if it was that got her, or if she just really likes the colours. And I said before, like I have a couple of shawls. I don't wear them all the time, so it might be for her. We'll wait and see. I'll wait and knit it, and then I'll see how I'm feeling. I know she would wear it more than I would, but I also know I want it, so we'll see how it goes. My original plan had been to do like a side to side shawl, if that makes sense. So like you start at one end and then you increase, then you decrease, then you finish. But the gauge is not going to work for that. Each stripe is about 2 centimetres. Each stripe is a centimetre. So each set of stripes is 2 centimetres, and in 24-day advent, that would mean it would be 48 centimetres, and most shawls are about 2 metres long. So I would be about a metre short if I was to do length to length. And that's with every stripe happening twice. If I did like one set of the advent and then the other set of the advent, it would still only be 96 centimetres, which is too short for what I want. So I think I'm going to go do a real traditional triangle shawl, which I think will be nice because I think this will have a really nice like spine, that's what I'm looking for, spine. And with triangles you can like put the spine here or over your shoulder and like wrap it around. So yeah. I'm also using wooden needles for this. I think I'm also using wooden needles for my Gallus. I always use ChiaoGoo metal needles, but I do have a set of ChiaoGoo, I think they might be bamboo. I love ChiaoGoo because of the sharp tips on the metal ones and because of the cords. The cords are like, once you go ChiaoGoo, I don't know how you could ever use another knitting cord. They've got like that metal core, like wire core, so that they don't kink and they don't, yeah, it's perfect. They've got a nice weight to them. But I do sometimes like using a metal tip, and I used it for, and these still fit on my regular ChiaoGoo cords. So I have a set of those too. I have a set of Knit Pros and I'm not using them. And I think we just talked at Knit Group about donating some knitting needles to charity or to our local hospital. And I think I'm going to go through my Knit Pros and donate some of them because I'm not using them. I don't use them at all anymore, and I've not used them for probably about 6 months. Maybe more. I got my ChiaoGoos, I think, for my birthday last year. Yeah, I can't remember. Anyway, that was a tangent about needles. But that was one of my acquisitions and a little swatch. And hopefully this will be cast on next time. I would like I think for the test knits for both of the advent patterns, the test knits need to start mid-September, which means I need to have this finished in mid-September, which I'm just not really sure how, like I don't know how fast I'm going to be with a fingering weight shawl. I've knit one fingering weight shawl before and I cannot remember how long it took me. So we'll see, basically, was what I was going to say. We'll see how long it takes. I don't know. One last thing, okay, yeah. One last thing. I was saying the other day that I seem to have a pretty solid ability, despite if I've got nothing to talk about or lots to talk about, I manage to fill an hour. It's almost always like 55 minutes to 1 minute 10, give or take. Hopefully today we're also on track. So as you may have realised, I have designs planned all the way up until the end of 2023. However, I still have ideas because I don't really know why. I wish I could like shut out inspiration for a while, because they come and then I need to cast them on immediately. Like I need to act on it immediately, and that's not very helpful. But I've got a colourwork pattern in mind, either for like January or February next year, and I put up a box. Sorry, it's in some paper. I put up a little like Instagram box asking for some insights on yarn people like to use for colourwork, and there's a lot of like what I expected. So like a lot of Rauma, Tuka wool, a lot of like Nordic rustic yarns, but I can't, Woolly Badger, I took a class with her and I can't remember her name, I'm really sorry. The Woolly Badger, who is a knitwear designer, messaged or put a thing in the box saying the fibre company Lore is really nice. Now I have never used a fibre company, but I was like, okay, cool, that's exciting. I'll have a look at them. They're pretty well priced and it's really readily available, and it's something I've not used before. But their colours, the design is a two colour colourwork design, and I wasn't really sure. Firstly, I'd never worked with it before, so I didn't want to go order a whole sweater's quantity because I didn't like it, and I wasn't really sure what colours to go for. I tried to like go through Instagram and see who'd made stuff in it and what colours they'd used, but again, like it's not really the same as seeing them yourself. And then somebody told me, I put a message on Instagram again saying, anyone has any scraps of Lore? Can I pay for postage and can I have them? Or can I buy them from you? Because I want to do some swatching and see if I like it. And someone told me they have mini balls, which was amazing. So I ordered some mini balls. And these are the mini balls that I ordered. One I've already swatched with, which is this one, which is, I mean, it's the most off-white. I don't have the label anymore. I got this one, which is called Stable, which is like a hay colour, which I really like. This one is called Courage, which is a beautiful brown. And this last green one is called Earthy. And when I was looking on Instagram, these two were the ones that jumped out, and I think these are what I'm going to go for. I do really like them, I think they're really special. But I do love this too. Like this. However, these two colours are almost exactly the same as my Care sweater, which is my other colourwork design, and so I think I'll steer clear of this. And I always want green, like I just love green. I think green could, I always say purple's my favourite colour, but maybe it's green, honestly. So I did a little swatch, just a little, actually this is quite a big swatch for me, just a little stockinette swatch, and it's lovely. It's really nice to knit with, really enjoyed knitting with it. I think I used 3.5mm needles. I think my gauge is like 18 stitches, which is enough for me to get going with. Like I would cast on with this. So I just used the white and I'm really pleased. So at some point I need to get, my first step will be to work out some colourwork charts based on like the picture I have in my mind. And then I'm considering, here's the thing, I don't really wear colourwork hats, but I thought a hat would be a good way to test out the colourwork designs. So I could always gift them, to be honest, couldn't I? So I thought I would use these mini balls. They are 62 metres. I don't know if that was enough for a hat. I don't know. A small hat, 120 metres total for the two colours together. I don't know. But I will cast something on, even if it's just a swatch in the round that I then steek and pin up. That would also work, to test out some of my colourwork designs, see if I like them, and then get casting on, which is really exciting. So again, I am not allowed to touch this for a while. I think this is a mid-September cast on, like I don't think I'll touch it for at least another few weeks, but I thought I'd share that I got it. And I'm really impressed. The mini balls were £6 for 25 grams, which I think is slightly more expensive than the whole skeins. I think the skeins are maybe £16. But I thought it was a really nice way to do it. And obviously if you want to do colour work, a mini ball is really handy. And I feel like everyone knows about this yarn, but I did not know about this yarn, so I'm telling you about it. There we go. I'm just surveying the floor around me to check I've got everything, and I have. That's all my knitting content. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope there was something here that was interesting. If you like anything, tell me about it. If you hate anything, tell me about it. If you've used any of these yarns, let me know. And I'm curious, like, is this, I'm not really sure what has led to this slight, like, the manic panic of knitting. It's not a bad thing. I'm just feeling like frenzied. That is the word. It's just a bit frenzied. It's a bit out of control, and I kind of like it, but also it's kind of a lot. So yeah, I don't really know. But is everyone else? Are other people feeling this way, or is it me? I'm not sure. Am I the problem? I think I am the problem. I'm always the problem. Otherwise, what is going on? Well, the Fringe just started here in Edinburgh, which is a huge international festival. I always have a love-hate relationship with the Fringe because on the one hand you get like world-class comedy and theatre on your doorstep. On the other hand, your city is taken over by people who don't live here, and it's kind of a bit rubbish at the same time. It's nice to go to these things, but it puts a lot of pressure on the infrastructure of the city. So transport is tricky, and all the restaurants are really full, and there's like rubbish a lot on the streets and things. And for example, right now the internet, like Wi-Fi, or not Wi-Fi, like 4G will not work in the centre of the city because there are so many people in the city that as soon as you get to like the centre, like messages just won't send because it's overwhelmed with a number of people. So it's kind of a mixed feeling. And I feel a bit protective always, like, well, this is my city, this is Edinburgh. It always bugs me when people come and they're like, oh, but I do the Fringe. Like, cool, but the Edinburgh and the Fringe is so different from Edinburgh the rest of the year. But it does mean we get amazing shows. So I don't know, I'm very conflicted. But we have been to see some shows. We went to see 2 comedy shows on Tuesday. And then we were meant to go see a show last night and the trams weren't running. So we rushed to the bus and then we like sitcom style, like ran up the stairs to the theatre, 3 minutes to spare. And then the guy was like, you're at the wrong theatre. And I was like, what? And he was like, this is not, the show's not on here. The show's on across town. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. We have a show on Tuesday, and like next Tuesday, and I went to the venue that show was on and not the one that last night was on. So lesson learned is I have to get Sam to double check the locations on tickets before we leave. Yeah, that's a bit annoying. And then today we've got our first set of friends coming, so we've got friends staying this weekend and next weekend, and we'll do some shows and we'll get some nice food and just be sociable, and that'll be really nice. We've not seen them since February, so it'll be good to catch up. And so that's this weekend and next weekend, and then the following weekend is my birthday, which I love. I love my birthday. It's usually the bank holiday weekend in the UK, so that last weekend in August, it's always then, and it always just feels very like celebratory. And I'll be doing a murder mystery dinner with my family, which I've been doing for, this will be the 3rd time with family and once with friends in London, and I love it. I think it's so much fun. I think we're going to do murder at the pizzeria this time, and we do like a dinner and everyone gets into costume. If I've got a picture from last year, I'll put it in. I don't know if I have it, but if I have it, I'll put it in. And yeah, it's really good fun. So we'll be doing that, and I will be having a birthday sale. So if anyone's sitting thinking I might want to buy a pattern, if you wait for 2 weeks, it'll be pretty quick. It'll be like a 2-day sale, I think. But I'm hoping to line up a podcast to go live on my birthday, and I'll give you the details about it then. If you can't wait for 2 weeks to cast on, that's also fine. I won't judge you. But I always feel like, I've never had it happen to me, but when designers put on sales and then people have bought the pattern like the day before, they must be really annoyed. So I'm giving people a warning, it's coming. Hey, sale is coming. And otherwise, just loads of knitting. Loads of knitting. I've mostly wrapped up my difficult patterns. I don't think we're going to have any more like tricky stuff coming until this colourwork one. Everything between now and then is like pretty easy to write, pretty easy to grade. My tricky test knit has started. The secret test knit that's coming is also a little bit tricky, but like not too tricky. And I'm just feeling good about everything that's going on. So that is exciting. Did I forget? Oh, I forgot one thing. The Scrappy Advent swap. I meant to talk about it when I was talking about my Advent patterns. Huge response from when I talked about it last time. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm hosting a Scrappy Advent swap, which is where you can sign up to send a scrap, like an Advent from your scraps. I say scraps, I mean like 10 grams, I think we said, 10 gram mini balls that you can make up out of your own stash, things that you've got left over or haven't used yet, and you can swap them with somebody else. You can sign up for like 24 days or 12 days or 4 full skeins, and you can sign up to send in your own country or or internationally or within like the EU if you're within the EU customs union, so you don't have to pick up customs. And that is open until the end of August, so yeah, I think there are over 500 applicants so far, like 550. When I checked a few days ago, it was like 550, so a lot. I have no idea how I'm going to go through sorting them, but I'm looking forward to it. I like things like that, like the admin part, so I'm looking forward to it. And then you'll find out by mid-September who you're swapping with. If you are interested, the link to sign up will be down below. It's just a Google form with all the details, and then you put in some details for yourself. And that's it. I think that is everything. I'm gonna go upload these to my computer so I can start editing them. Maybe get myself a tasty little drink. And I've got loads of dishes to do, so I'm also going to clean the dishes. I hope you have a more exciting afternoon plan than I do. I will speak to you again in a few weeks. Until then, happy knitting! Bye!